Hello everybody, Andy here from Glass Half Dead, the #1 kill team channel on the internet, unless you are aware of literally any other channel. Okay, today we're doing another gotcha guide, and I'm going to tell you what a gotcha guide is and what a gotcha guide isn't going to give you. Let's get straight into it. We don't want to dilly-dally. I'm doing 36 of these potentially, so let's not dwell. So, what is a gotcha? Gotchas are things that mess with you, not with them. If they buff themselves, that is not a gotcha. In learning a team's gotchas, you are also learning how to play the team. So yes, the title of this video is how to play, because that's what people are going to search when they search for these sorts of things. However, the thumbnail is gotcha guide. In this video, okay, you are going to learn the gotchas of the team, and in learning what a team can do against you and the things you need to look out for if you're actually looking to play that team, you're going to learn the things that you should be trying to do to other people. Quick note on what a gotcha is, of course, it's not a buff. If they are able to give themselves ceaseless or balanced or rending, that's not a gotcha. That's just a thing they can do. It's something that you will have to learn to be aware of, but it doesn't stop you from doing anything you need to do to enact your devious schemes. This is not a basics guide. You should understand the basics of playing kill team. I have of course done a how to play video. I've also done various other like line of sight videos, etc. If you're looking for the basics, this isn't going to be it. And not just the basics in the mechanics, but also kind of the basics in how to play kill team in general, right? You should also know your team. I can't refer to always a horde team, a normal team, an elite team into every team. I'm talking about the team and their gotchas. For you, if you're playing, for example, Deathcore, you need to know what your profile does to a Space Marine, if I'm talking about a Space Marine, or if you're playing an elite team, an Eldar, what does your team and how do they in general deal with a horde team or an elite, a Marine team? Equally, so that's your profiles. You also need to know like the basics of the enemies and how much you care about those. If you're playing Deathcore of Krieg, you need to be very aware of Blast. But if you're playing Marines, you don't care about Blast at all. You don't even have to ask the opponent, hey, do you have any Blast? You don't care. There you go. They can hit multiples of you. That's fine. And how that affects your team. What I'm saying in this guide is we're going to be looking at 5 different things. First, we're going to go over pre-game. This is going to affect your operative and your TAC-op selection. So as you rock up to the table with your opponent, you shake hands, you look them in the eye, you give them a dirty glare. And before you pick your team, here are the things you need to know to pick the operatives and the TAC-ops. Deployment. This is after you've picked. This is going to be things that define where you can move, firstly in deployment, but also going into your plan of turn 1. These will be things like seek light, ignore obscuring, because that will define where you can stand safely. Firefight is everything else. Basically, a gotcha here, we're just looking at things that define your dice maths. There you go. Finally, we have interrupts. Interrupts are things that stop your activation. These are the true things. These are the fight first, the hit twice, all these crazy things, stop you from activating, possibly even stop you from tapping a point, etc, etc. If you do like what I'm doing here on this channel in general, in this gotcha guide series, in this particular video, whatever, I do have a Patreon. Firstly, a shout out to all of my patrons. You are genuinely the only reason I am still making videos. If you would like to be somebody that makes me still make videos and, you know, donate to my hydration fund, thank you very much. Check me out on Patreon. I also do things like every week I give a rant on some subject or an update of the channel. And if you don't want to do that, you want to support in another way, I do have affiliate links to Element Games and Whaling Games in the UK. If you're UK based, the way that works, by the way, is you just click on the links below. It costs you nothing extra, and I get like a 2% kickback or something tiny in that, but it all adds up. Okay, with that said, let's get straight into. When it comes to the Nemesis Claw basic stat line, it's exactly what you'd expect from a Marine team. If you've seen the previous videos, you know what this is. You're good to go. I don't need to explain it too much. Be aware that dealing with 14 wounds is such a massive skew. It means, and a 3-up save means that they basically ignore all normal shooting. You're only shooting them if you have a piercing 1 or better weapon. there's kind of no point taking a shot at them unless you have some funky skills, like you can shoot twice rending, something like that. And APL3 is just, it changes the entire way the team plays. And so you need to know that playing into a Marine team, an elite team, is totally different from playing into a Horde team, a normal human team. Which takes us to the pre-game. So you don't need to be aware of too much. They don't have crazy things that they can do for you here, but be aware that they have Midnight Clad. That's one of their faction rules. This means that they are always, no matter what, obscured over 6 inches. Now I just said no matter what, and that isn't true at all. There are conditions to it. However, if you're playing on Vulcus, it's basically no matter what. The conditions are that you must be either within 1 inch of heavy terrain or under a vantage point. If you're playing on some custom kill zones, like Old Octarius, then there are definitely situations where you wouldn't be in Midnight Clad. But on Vulcus, on Into the Dark, on Gallowfall, you pretty much always are within 1 inch of terrain. But also be aware they have Fearmonger Poison. This could have gone in the firefight phase, perhaps, or even the interrupts phase, frankly. But so you're aware that they have something called the Fearmonger. He also has a poison grenade, but that's not a gotcha. That's just a weapon he has. He can tap a point, and that means that when you then step within control range of that point, you will take 2d3 damage. It will stop your action, and because you will then be poisoned, you will take 1d3 damage in the strategic phase of the next turn. So just be aware that for certain teams, this means you cannot tap a point, okay? Or more precisely, you have to accept that one of your models dies, then you can tap a point. It's something you have to plan around. If you see where they deploy the Fearmonger, and the fact that they will almost certainly take the Fearmonger, this changes what you might want to do. Or more precisely, it will probably change the type of way you want to play the game. Perhaps you were going to go into this game thinking, I want to play a strong crit-op game. Now you might think, actually, I know he's probably going to take the Fearmonger. He's definitely going to probably make a dash for the central point and poison it. So, because that means I'm then not going to be able to deal with that without losing a model, potentially, or at least dedicating much more resources to that point than I want to, I'm going to rethink, and I'm going to take the particular operatives and the tac ops that allow me to play a strong tac op and kill op game instead of crit op. You know, work with the tools you have, which often means the tools that the enemy has taken away from you. We then go to deployment. So, you know, not too much here. Prey sight, they can get Seek Light within 6 inches. And then the Ventriloquar, Disconcerting Mimicry. This is actually massive. We're going to go, at the end of the video, we're going to go to the table and we're going to show you exactly kind of what they can do with this. But basically, it's a 6-inch aura. They don't even need visibility. 6-inch aura. And they can force you to flip your order from engage to conceal, or they can make you dash. So that's absolutely mad. There you go. We then get to the firefight phase. It will take me off the board so that we can see what's going on here. So here's what you need to be aware of in the firefight phase. These are just their general things. They can take flayed skin, which is a piece of equipment, and there is the Screecher Operative. Flayed skin is no reroll ones within 2 inches of that particular flayed skin, whereas the Screecher himself is an operative, if you don't know, is no rerolls within 3 inches of that Screecher operatives. They can also then take the Grizzly Trophy. If you kill an operative within 2 inches of your operative that gets the kill, then opponents within 2 inches of that Grizzly Trophy are -1 or of that. Yeah, the Grizzly Trophy is given to the operative that gets the kill. They are -1 attack dice. That is absolutely outrageous. That is very, very strong, potentially. They can take Comms Jammer. Luckily, this just got a nerf, and it's exactly this kind of nerf that is the reason I waited until the first balance patch to do these videos, because the Comms Jammer used to be insane. Now, basically, if you have an operative, a Nemesis Claw operative within 3 inches of any of your models, then those models cannot get +1 APL. So for those teams that are reliant on their comms to make them some good combos, Be aware comms jammer is probably always going to be taken, but it's much less effective now after the nerf, so that's good. They then have We Have Come For You, a classic thing that I like to shout out in the middle of the night. You take D3 damage on the charge. Be aware this is only on the charge, not on the fight. So they charge you and they immediately do D3 damage. It's only one operative, but yep, they don't have to fight you to deal this damage. So they could, if things are looking shaky for them, make the charge, realize they've rolled a 1 on the D3 damage instead of a 2 or a 3, which is what they needed to then one-shot you, and say, oh, actually, I'm not going to fight you. And then you're just there. And then you have the Skin Thief, who is an operative who has an ability called Flay Them Alive. This is all melee damage of 3 or more is -1. So if you're dealing 4 damage, they're only taking 3. If you're dealing 3 damage, they're only taking 2. This is quite oppressive, potentially, when you remember they have 14 wounds. And then finally, until we get to the board, we have the Interrupts. Big one for this team is Vox Scream. This is going to cost them 1 CP. It's a reactionary firefight ploy, tactical ploy, that's the word. When you say, I'm going to activate this model, they can block your activation for a CP. This is potentially very good. The best way to think of this is you've set yourself up for a really strong turn 2 alpha attack. You really want that initiative. You get the initiative. You take it. You've got your guy ready to go. They just Vox Scream you and force you to do something else. So if you're ever playing into Nemesis Claw, be aware you kind of want 2 big plays set up for your initiative decision making. They have Dirty Fighter. So this is, again, a ploy. So you can hit before the enemy. So this is when you're retaliating. You get to play this. You hit before the enemy, but then you discard all of your other dice. So basically, if you are charging and you are already low health, within potentially, let's say, 5 health, because suddenly I think this isn't a ploy. I think this is actually an ability on one of the fighters who can only do a maximum of 5 damage. They can't hit you for more than that. Then you discard all others. Finally, you have Portent. Portent is on the leader, who's called a Visionary, and it's Jas every turn. Jas just a scratch. That means that they can block one of your attack dice and take no damage from it every turn. It does cost them some resources. They don't actually get to do this every turn because they might not have the resource to do it, but they probably do. This is normally the ability that you hold your resources back for. But if they're doing this just to scratch every turn, then they won't be getting CP or or passing. Right, let's take it to the table and see what's up. Okay, so a very quick guide on how crazy disconcerting mimicry can be. We've got our ventriloquist back here. Obviously, we're going to move dash. We're going around the corner, so that's -1 inch. That's a quick way to think about it. And we're dashing. We're easily up to base with that. There we go. And then you measure 6 inches, which allows us to get up to him there. Base to base, we're just there. That means we can either simply, once per turn, flip his order to an engage. Suddenly everybody can shoot him. Or, because we're absolutely mad lads, we can keep him on a conceal, if we fancy it, and dash him off of the vantage point so that he's just stood absolutely out in the open, ready for anybody to shoot. That's cost us 3 APL. Now, if we don't feel like we want to be here, we could then also play our ploy in the strategic phase of the next turn to reposition or fall back. So we could either reposition onto the point, or we could just run away and end up inside here, underneath the door. We are untouchable, and it gives us a turn 1 kill. Now, getting a turn 1 kill on this little brood brother, not a big deal. But if it was the Patriarch, that is a big deal. If it was another Space Marine, an elite team, absolutely game-winning move. And that was from your deployment zone. If that's not an alpha strike, I don't know what is.